Over the years, I've suffered my fair share of running related injuries and setbacks, most of which were caused from poor form, weakness, or misfiring muscles, and that last culprit is rarely ever covered in running exercise videos. But it's so important. I've lost count of the amount of times I've had niggles result from misfiring glutes or my core switching off. So I have a 15-minute morning routine that I do religiously. It was formed from many years of physiotherapy and coaching, and each exercise hardwires my body to get the right muscle groups firing at the right time. Don't get me wrong, this is not strength and conditioning. This is a way to teach my body how to run correctly and get my muscles firing on a subconscious level. These running exercises target two of your most powerful weapons, the glutes and your core. I'll explain what each exercise is for as we go along, but it's amazing how setting my alarm just 15 minutes earlier each morning can make such a big difference to my running. So let's get into it. Right, let's begin with what you're going to need to do these running exercises. First and foremost, a TheraBand. You should probably have one of these anywhere as part of your warm-up routine. Ideally a Plantar Pad. I'll put a link in the description where you can get this from. If you don't have one of these, don't worry though, you can use the stairs, but we'll get into more detail on that in a second. You'll also need a trigger point release ball. This one's really important, guys. If you don't have one of these, you could use a tennis ball, but these are much better. Let me explain why these are so important for any runner. Visualise your body and muscles as one big assortment of elastic bands all tied together. What happens when we run is they get tighter and tighter, which is a good thing. This is where we get our elasticity and our bounce from. Sometimes, however, they can get too tight and they need releasing. If we don't do that and we get a little tear in one of the bands and it's always under that constant pressure, at some point something's going to go snap. So what we do with trigger point release is constantly manage this pressure that's building up to make sure it's not building in an unhealthy or unnatural way. We do this by targeting the glutes and targeting the calves mainly. There's other areas you can do, but what I do each morning is I will get my ball, go onto my side like this and put it just under my hip bone here. I will then put some pressure on and basically roll around just below the hip bone until it starts to feel uncomfortable. Once I'm there, I'll just start moving my leg up and down very slowly, and I can feel that right in there. It's really sore. That's a sign that I'm in the right area. This is actually the connection to your IT band, and it can also help with preventing IT band syndrome because it just helps loosen things off in the joint. It helps with the hips as well. I then roll over onto my side and I get into my actual glute itself. Just literally rolling up and down, only slowly, until I get onto a spot that's a bit sore, and then I sit on it, put my weight into it, and I might just turn my ankle a little bit, just to rule it out. There we go. And I'll then just go onto my back, the same thing, again, the glutes, just rolling my ankle over, but it's all about finding the spot, putting your weight into it, and letting the ball do the rest of the work. You do this on both sides, then the ball again, just on the calf, the same idea. I'll start with the outside, just find that pressure point where I feel like there's a bit of a knot or something needs working out, and I'll stop. I might even put my other leg on it just for a little bit of weight. I'll just do some ankle movement just to get it moving, but it's important here not to roll and writhe about. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to put pressure on just to relieve the muscle and get rid of those knots. And I work my way across all areas of the calf doing the same thing. This running routine also works your plantar fascia, which we're going to do in a second, but it's important we wake up those ankles and feet to start the day off right. So trigger point release ball on the floor, and I roll across my plantar fascia and then start going side to side, rolling over the metatarsals, working it all the way into the toes. And yeah, it feels really good doing that. I do it on both sides, doesn't take long, only maybe 30 seconds on each side, and you feel a really good release. The other thing I do is get the ankle joint woken up as well. For this we need the TheraBand. It doesn't really matter which colour one you use because we're only doing 10 flexes here. So you're going to work your foot down, and back up again, and just do this 10 times on both sides. You're also going to go side to side, so literally to the right as you're pulling your arm to the left. That's just going to work down this ligament here, and likewise suckling it in. It's important though not to do ankle circles here, because that can weaken the joint. We're doing a little bit of strengthening there, but mainly getting the joint woken up. And once we've done that, we can now work on activation. This begins with the core, so I go onto my back and we're going to what I call the Deadbug position. And you lower your right leg down while your left arm goes down and comes back up. Right arm goes down, left leg goes down and back up. The key here is to pull in your core. Think of something drilling through the middle of your stomach, through the floor, and as you go down, really activate your glute. So think of activating that bum muscle and that core as you go down and back up. Really activating your glute and your core and back up. Just do 10 of these on each side each morning, and that really gets things fired up and started. Now, we touched a little bit there on how to get the glute activated, but bear in mind, this is the biggest muscle in your body, especially for running. Think of the piston to your train. It's so important and it's so underused. So we're really gonna have to use a couple of exercises here to get that one kick-started. We're gonna go back onto our back again using the TheraBand. You put it around the bottom of your foot, and with one leg, the inactive one, just there, bent position, the other one gets lifted up and the TheraBand is around the foot like that. What we need to do is activate the glute, deactivate everything else, but with that glute, I can feel it, it's gone hard because I've activated it, and then you just push down to the floor, only with the glute active, and back up, using the resistance of the TheraBand to get that motion. So glute active, push down, and back up. And you do this 10 times on each side. What this does is it teaches your body to use the bum muscle first in that push-off motion when you're running. We've got another great exercise for that in just a second, but before we go on to it, seeing as we're already on the floor, we're gonna do some clamshells. I use a TheraBand, you don't need to. It's only because I've been doing these for a lot of years now, so my body needs the extra resistance to be able to make the exercise harder. But you basically go on your side, you need a straight back and bent knees. So if you can use maybe a wall to get your back straight, your heels should be touching the wall as well. Should be on your side like that. Just rest your head on your hand, the other one in front of you, and the same thing again. Activate your glute. This time open out your knee, your hip joint, and close. Activate the glute, and from your bum, twist and turn. Don't move your hips. It's important to keep your hips stable, keep them still, and just open it out like that. I do 15 of these on each side, but maybe start with 10 and do a couple of rounds of this one, I would say, each morning if you can fit it in. And remember guys, all these exercises are repetition, repetition, repetition. You need to do them at least every other day, ideally. We're trying to teach our body good habits. Talking of good habits, let's talk about the push-off in the run. We're back on the glute again, so you need to spread your legs out and lean into your left leg to begin with. Just place your hand on your bum muscle and just squeeze it in. You should be able to feel it activate. So what you want to do is feel that activation just in the glute, and when you do, push all your weight through your back heel until you start to levitate and rise off the floor. It's that running motion as you're pushing off. What we're trying to do here is teach your body to use your glute muscle as you're pushing off in the running motion. Not because if my bum's loose like that, I'm gonna overuse my hamstrings and my calves and my ankle. This has happened to me, guys. I've had calf injuries and I've had locked up ankles because of this very reason. That's why I know this works, because since I started doing this exercise, those issues have disappeared. And as soon as I stop doing these exercises, the issues come back, surprise, surprise. So we do 10 of these on each side, And again, just to recap, spread your legs apart, lean into the front one, the back one, activate the glute, press down through the heel until you start levitating off the floor, and that is how it's done. And for my next running exercise, we're going to be talking about plantar fasciitis. This is something I've really suffered with in the past, especially when I first started running. I was going on uneven terrain, stuff I wasn't used to, and it caught me out. It overworked that plantar, caused little tears in there, and because I also had tight calves and tight hamstrings from the terrain, I ended up with problems. So what we're going to do is we're going to strengthen the plantar fascia using this plantar pad. All these exercises you can do on the edge of a stair. Highly recommend getting one of these though, guys, because you can't beat them. We need to take our socks off for this one because it is a little bit slippy, so excuse me. This goes against the edge of something, maybe a mantelpiece, and you basically put your toe onto the edge of it, lift the other one up, and very simply do heel raises. Nice and slowly, and back down. You do this 10 times on both sides, focusing on rising through the big toe. That's really important. And again, activate the glute. Use this as an opportunity to get your glute activation. Make sure you're strong from the core. We're teaching good habits all the time, guys. Make sure your foot is pointed forward. Do not go out to the side because that's teaching bad habits. All these things about drilling good habits into your body so when you go out there and run, you don't have to think about it, it's all second nature. Once you've done that on both sides, we're going to move on to some knee bends. So again, just in the same position, toe on the edge of the plantar pad, or do this on a stair, and just bend into it. And all we're doing here is stretching out that calf muscle and the Achilles tendon. We're getting them used to being overstretched when we're maybe running uphill or going on some really rocky terrain so that they're prepared for it when we come to it. Again, that one, maybe 10 times, just do it once, build up to twice a day if you can, should work wonders. And the last exercise I do for my plantar, you just need to sit down with your legs out in front of you and do little arch curls. That's all you've got to do. Literally just scrunch up the toes, pulling that arch up to the ceiling and back down. Arch up to the ceiling, back down. I do this 20 times on both sides each morning, and it just helps strengthen up that arch, which tends to be a problem for plantar fasciitis, either having flat feet or fallen arches. So really does help with that. And for my final exercise, we're looking at some proprioception. This was given to me by my coach, Jason, and it's a really good exercise. I was using this when I was having knee issues. I was getting a lot of pain just on the upper side of my knee, around the ligaments. And what we realized is that actually when I was running, my body wasn't responding to each footstep when I was on more technical terrain. So there was a lot of that going on. And yeah, my ligaments were taking a lot of the hammer because my muscles weren't activating when they needed to. So what we do here is simply that. Move your foot around the planted foot. Activate the core when you do it. Activate the glute, like we've been saying all morning. This is what you're doing. And you're then going to start to move your arms in a running motion as you'd expect to, the opposite way to where the foot's going. And it's about teaching your body to deal with that movement, because every single step when you're running downhill or on really difficult terrain is going to be like this. You're not going to have a lot of control over your body, and then you need to bend your knee and do the same again. It's just getting those twitch fibers started and drilling this into your body every other day so that eventually it becomes second nature, which is the theme of the whole routine and all these running exercises. Of course, I'm not a running coach, guys, and I'm not a physiotherapist, but I've spent a lot of money and a lot of my time getting these exercises from professionals to help me with issues that I believe you guys will have. This whole video will be time-stamped so you can go back and see exercises. That is it, guys. That's the morning routine. It takes 15 to 20 minutes every single morning for me, and it's worked wonders. I hope hope this helps you guys, and I will catch you all with the next training episode, race, shoe review. I do all sorts. If you enjoy this sort of thing, subscribe. If you want to see anything else similar to this, hit me down in the comments and let me know. Otherwise, thank you all so much for the support. It's been fantastic, especially after the Three Peaks race. You've all been wonderful. I'll catch you all the next one, guys. See you later.